Yo, they released some new tuning notes, so let's go over them. All got buffed, but his personal damage got buffed to the point where its old 2 set from Nerebar was better than the current sets, and they're like, we don't like that, so it's getting nerfed. Prez has kind of been overshadowed by all the other healers because of raid buffs, plus it got nerfed quite a bit in Nerebar, so they're buffing it. We have a Prez only play, or not Prez only, but a Prez main in our guild, and so they're probably happy to get any kind of buff they can. Survival Hunter, BM, and Marksman are kind of overshadowing it, so it needs to be a little buff, just pump it up there. Kind of the same shot with Frost Mage. There's been some play, and I've seen some Frost Mages and Keys, but realistically, Arcane is dominating, and then Fire has a place outside of that. So, with that being the case, Frost was a little behind in a lot of cases, so buffed up a little bit. But as with everything, anytime the blue class gets buffed, it is bad for me, and therefore the world. So, suck it, mages. Now for Unholy, Unholy. For Holy, Lightsmith is getting buffed. Mostly they're playing in Raid and in Mythic Plus, Herald of the Sun, so the other tier talent isn't really seeing play, so they're buffing that. I have this all ready to go. Another 5% to Psychic Link. I have not been in the game or playing the game as much as other people have in regards to just like the general longevity or patch cycles and changes and all that kind of stuff. But what I have noticed is they like to either buff or nerf Psychic Link by 5% almost every single full patch cycle, every single time. Like it's just 5%, 5%, 5%, 10%, 5%, 5%. Like I don't know what's going on with this class. Like this whole cycle thing, like the idea of it is actually kind of cool, where you like dot stuff and then you focus on a main target and everything else takes damage. So like the idea of how Shadow Priest is supposed to work, like thematically, is really cool. Where you're doing emotional damage to any mob that has dots on them. But the fact that Psychic Link keeps going up and down by 5% is pretty funny. I don't really think it changes anything. A lot of this isn't like a massive buff to its damage. It's like single target damage, but it is a decent chunk of buff to its AoE. So it'll still be good at where it's good at in Raid by killing ads while also damaging the boss. But I don't think you're going to see it pop up in Mythic Plus that much. It's just a little change for them. I thought Sub was played a lot in Raid. Like if we go, but I think maybe people are just playing Assassination. Like let's look at a boss like Mugsy. I mean, Mugsy is more, I guess, more execute focused. So we'll probably see more Assassination rogues. Yeah, Assassination for Mugsy. What about Chrome King? Some sub Assassination, some outlaw. So I guess it was just underperforming slightly, so they just buffed it by 5%. Everyone's playing Totemic for Shaman, as far as I've seen, so they're just buffing Farseer to kind of be like, hey guys, we're just going to buff the other thing people aren't playing. Same thing with Destruction Warlock. The Destro's been playing the Blackened Soul talent, which isn't Diabolist. So there's like, hey, we're going to buff the thing nobody's playing, push it up. Now we get to Warrior changes. Whirlwind decreased by 100%. There is 0 chance that this is actually going to affect Cleave, because buffing Cleave by 100% would be great, actually, but I doubt it's going to happen. If you look at logs, Whirlwind does maybe 3% of a Fury Warrior's damage if they're playing Slayer in Keys specifically, so, like, I don't know, it's a bit of a buff to Slayer in Keys, because you can play Whirlwind. The Odin's Fury changes are kind of interesting. Which, I'll be honest, like, it is a buff. It's probably going to be okay in mass AoE, but this ability got nerfed over and over and over again. Like, for example, if we just look at it on the talent tree, one of the problems with Odin's Fury as well is the talents that it's actually locked behind. Because to get to Odin's Fury from our general talent tree, you're going to have to lose 4 points. Because it's locked behind 2 points here, and then you take Odin's and the follow-up talent to buff it. So we would need to find 4 points of our current talent set to pick this thing up. It's probably going to do decent damage in AoE, but as far as, like, overall, where you need to do single target damage as well as AoE, it's probably going to fall behind pretty significantly. I mean, it's not going to be like behind, but it's probably just 30% is just not enough. This talent used to cast an Odin's Fury when you avatared, so baseline, you lost 33% of your Odin's Fury damage just off of it not losing losing a third of your casts. Then it got nerfed alongside of Bladestorm over and over and over again in Erebar Palace to the point where it's just bad and not worth taking. And then now we're dealing with the after effects of that, and then they're kind of buffing it up a little, but with what our current talent trees look like, and especially with people not really playing Slayer in keys because of how it performs, they did buff Reap recently, so maybe there's like a Slayer thing that could work with it, but it's decent, but I don't really see it being good enough to pick back up with just 30%. They'd have to actually like seriously buff this thing again, to which the last time they did, they decided to nerf it by maybe not just as much, but quite significantly after that. Thunderclap and Thunderblast are also getting 25% buffs, which is nice for your general AoE. If you look at performance in terms of like dungeons, like if you look at overall dungeons and something like Priory, for Warrior, you can look at... I had these pulled up earlier, but you can look at a dungeon like Priory, and then you can maybe look at something more smaller target count. Like, let's say we look at something like Rookery instead. And then where... You didn't log that one. This is 19. We'll just have to go with it. So if you look at Priory overall, you can see that it is behind. Behind the buff to Thunderclap is going to be very nice. I mean, like I said, I don't think the Whirlwind buff is going to affect Cleave at all. So with that being the case, I don't really see it changing much here. It does buff it a little bit, but we're basically adding 25%. It's like 20%-ish. What's 25 of 20? Like 4? No, like 5. So it's maybe 5%, a little more. Maybe that's like rough napkin math. And then if you look at the numbers, you go, okay, we go to our handy-dandy calculator. So we have your handy-dandy calculator, and we'll just do 4.6 mil times by 0.05 plus 4.6 mil. And it gets it a bit closer to the numbers you'd see for arms. It gets it a little closer. Fury does have more single-target prio specifically, but the two-target bosses kind of push arms over the edge, I'd say, a little bit. So it kind of catches it up a little bit, but it's still definitely going to be behind. If I had to say, it honestly would probably affect Raid more than it does Mythic Plus at all. But, I mean, some AoE buffs are nice, but, like, I honestly don't really see it changing anything. I think the class itself just needs a full-on rework. The way it does AoE is problematic. I hate, like, Thunderclap feels okay to press as Thane, but pressing Whirlwind just feels so weak and bad. Like, honestly, I think they just need to get rid of Whirlwind altogether. Well, I mean, what I would like to see is they get rid of Whirlwind altogether. Fury starts to passively AoE. T-Clap and Thunderblast are buffed to be buttons, and Thunderblast especially buffed are buttons that you just use as an AoE button if you run out of stuff, or Thunderblast does enough damage to warrant its priority in an AoE situation, right? I think they just get rid of Whirlwind, they get rid of the Whirlwind talents, and they just allow the class to passively cleave at a certain target count. Because honestly, hitting Whirlwind just feels bad and is a bad button, and I don't like Whirlwind anymore. On this class. So you could say, oh, it's iconic, Whirlwind, you know, Whirlwind Axe, wow, Whirlwind. But honestly, who gives a shit? I think it is a very unsatisfying button to press. It's got okay sound effects to it, but I don't really like how Warrior does AoE anymore. hitting cleave is fine, because, like, yeah, you hit the cleave, you hit the big button, and it does a lot of damn. But Whirlwind just feels like piss to press. And then if you're playing something like Slayer, you Whirlwind, and then you're like, oh god, I sure hope I reap the Storm proc from hitting 3 targets with my Bloodthirst. And then they did things like take away what was that talent? They did things by taking away Unhinged ability to cleave Bloodthirst through Ravager or Bladestorm to make our AoE even worse before the patch even came out. So I don't know, man. I think Warrior just needs a full-on rework. It needs to be freshened up. I think it should just do outside arms. I think should be cleaving more. I think arms, maybe they should incorporate more of the slams style of gameplay into it, to where you're doing more. Basically, your single target is doing AoE, which I think is nice, and then they can bounce around that. But I don't like Whirlwind as a button personally anymore. But if they're buffing it, it should be like, I don't know. And some of the logs, the highest Slayer log I saw was a 15 Priory that I looked at, and it did like 3.4% of their damage. So it's like, hey, it'll, in one of the highest target count dungeons ever, it'll give you another 3, maybe 4%. Like, I don't know. I think this class needs a full-on Jamba Juice, put it in the blender, and bring me something new. But regardless of that, buffs are buffs. I will admit some of the saltiness that I have currently towards the class and the spec and everything else going on is simply the fact that when I try and pug keys, like, look, I'll look pug keys and, oh, look, it's the same fucking 4 classes in every single dungeon. Boomkin, DK, Disc Priest, and Vengeance. And then when there isn't this, like, I would say about 8 to 9 times today, there is a Marksman Hunter, a Rogue, a Shaman, and then a Vengeance, or even a Brewmaster tank, or like a Mistweaver Monk. And that's perfect for Warrior. I have the correct IO, I have very good gear, and then I don't get invited. You know why I don't get invited? Because they invite a fucking DK. That it doesn't matter if I buff the entire group 5%, the DK does 20% more damage than every other spec in the game. Yay! So who knows, man? Maybe Cleave should be buffed by 100% because fuck the red class. You know what I mean? I don't know. Because the problem with DK is then if you fundamentally nerf it in those aspects, then it also like really negatively impacts it in raid as well because of how the things tie together. It's like, it sucks, man. It sucks. I just, you know what? It's a problem because I'm salty and I don't want my class to be the best in the game. I don't even want my class to be best in the game. I just want my class to be not literally looked down upon by the entire player base unless they need a raid buff in the raid because of how underwhelming it is outside of a raid scenario. I don't know. I'm just very annoyed playing this back and farm. Annoyed. Rah, 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 rah. I will be shutting the video off now and posting it. Okay, bye-bye.